There is a silence that lives beneath every breath you take. It is the silence that was here before your first cry, and it will remain long after your last exhale dissolves into the open sky. Tonight, we are not running from that silence. We are walking toward it, slowly, with our eyes wide open and our hearts unguarded. Because the truth that most of us spend an entire lifetime avoiding is the very truth that can set us free. You are going to die, not someday in some abstract faraway future, not as a philosophical concept to be debated over tea, but as a living, breathing reality that is already unfolding in this very moment, in the slow turning of your cells, in the quiet fading of this day into night. And rather than turning away from this fact, rather than numbing ourselves with noise and distraction, what if we turned toward it with the same tenderness we would offer a sleeping child? What if death, the thing we fear most, became our greatest teacher? This is the ancient invitation of the Buddha, not to worship death, not to romanticize it, but to sit with it, to look it directly in the eye, and to discover that within that gaze lives the most radical freedom a human being can ever know. To continue healing your body and soul through these ancient teachings, I invite you to join our path by subscribing to this sanctuary. Let this be a place where you return again and again, whenever the weight of the world feels too heavy, whenever you need to remember what is real. Now, take a slow breath in through your nose. Feel your chest expand. Hold it gently at the top and release it, long and soft, through your mouth. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw unclench. Let whatever you have been carrying today rest on the ground beside you, even if only for the next few moments. You do not need to hold it all right now. The first insight is this: death is not the opposite of life. It is the completion of it. We have been taught since childhood that death is the enemy, that it is something to be conquered, outsmarted, postponed at all costs. Our entire civilization is built on the unspoken agreement that we will pretend death does not exist. We build monuments of steel and glass. We fill our calendars until there is no room for a single moment of stillness. We scroll through endless feeds of other people's curated lives, all of it a beautiful, desperate attempt to feel immortal. But the Buddha saw through this illusion 2,500 years ago, the sitting beneath the Bodhi tree, watching the morning star appear in a sky still bruised with night. He saw that birth and death are not two separate events. They are one continuous movement, like the inhale and the exhale of the same breath. You cannot have one without the other. To reject death is to reject life itself. In the Pali tradition, there is a practice called maranasati. It means mindfulness of death. And it is not a morbid exercise. It is one of the most luminous, life-affirming practices ever conceived by the human mind. The monks of the Thai forest tradition would sit in charnel grounds among the remains of the deceased, not to frighten themselves, but to see clearly, to witness the truth of impermanence written in bone and ash and earth. And what they discovered was not despair. It was a tenderness so vast it could hold the entire world. The second insight opens like a door left ajar in a darkened hallway. We suffer not because death exists, but because we pretend it does not. Think about your own life for a moment. Think about the arguments you have carried for weeks, the grudges you have held for years. Think about the sleepless nights spent worrying about things that never came to pass. Now imagine, truly imagine, that you have only 1 year left to live. Feel that land in your body. Feel it in your stomach, in the back of your throat, behind your eyes. Let the weight of that truth press gently against your ribs. How many of those grudges would you still be carrying? How many of those worries would still matter? This is not a thought experiment. This is the reality of your situation, and none of us know when our time will come. The Buddha reminded his students of this constantly. He said, "Do not assume you will have tomorrow. Do not assume you will finish this breath." A Zen master was once asked by a student, "What is the most important thing in the world?" The master replied, "Attention." The student pressed him, "And what is the second most important thing?" The master said again, "Attention." And the third, "Attention," because attention is the doorway through which we finally stop running and start living. When we pay attention to the reality of death, every moment becomes precious. Every cup of tea becomes a ceremony. Every conversation becomes a sacred exchange. The third insight is woven into the fabric of the natural world. Impermanence is not a tragedy. It is the very thing that makes beauty possible. Look at a cherry blossom. It blooms for perhaps a week, sometimes less. The petals are so thin, you can see light passing through them. And then, in one gust of wind, they fall. Now ask yourself this: would the cherry blossom be beautiful if it lasted forever? If those petals never fell, if they hung there rigid and unchanged through summer and autumn and winter, would anyone stop beneath the tree and weep at its beauty? No. It is the falling that makes it sacred. It is the brevity that breaks our hearts open. You are a cherry blossom. Your life is brief, luminous, and unspeakably beautiful, not in spite of its ending, but because of it. The Japanese have a word for this, mono no aware. It means the bittersweet awareness of passing things, the gentle sadness that arises when we see the autumn leaves turn gold, but knowing they will soon be gone. This is not pessimism. This is the most exquisite form of gratitude. To love something fully, knowing you will lose it. To hold a hand, knowing it will one day slip from yours. This is the courageous heart the Buddha invites us to cultivate. The fourth insight asks us to turn inward. The fear of death is really the fear of never having truly lived. If you sit quietly with your fear of dying, if you peel back the layers one by one, you will find that beneath the terror is not a fear of nothingness. It is a fear of unlived life. It is the quiet, aching grief of days wasted on autopilot, of words left unspoken, of love withheld out of pride. The Tibetan teacher Sogyal Rinpoche once observed that the reason we are so afraid of death is because we have not yet begun to live. We spend our years sleepwalking through routines, numbing ourselves with busyness, and then we are shocked when the end approaches and we realize we have barely tasted the feast that was spread before us. Take a breath right now. Feel the cool air enter your nostrils. Feel the warmth of your own body. Notice the sounds around you, the hum of the world continuing its ancient song. This moment, right here, is your life. Not the memory of yesterday, not the plan for tomorrow. This, the fifth insight, is a paradox that can only be understood by the body, not the mind. To prepare for death is to become more fully alive. In many Buddhist monasteries, the day begins before dawn. The monks rise in the dark, sit on cold stone floors, and before the first chant they silently recite the 5 remembrances. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature to change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My actions are my only true belongings. I cannot escape the consequences of my actions. These are not words of doom. They are words of liberation. Because when you stop pretending that you are permanent, something miraculous happens. You stop postponing your life. You call the friend you have been meaning to call. You say the words you have been holding back. You watch the sunset not with a camera in your hand, but with your whole body, letting the colors wash over you like a prayer. The sixth insight takes us to the edge of what the mind can understand. Death is not a wall. It is a doorway. In Tibetan Buddhism, the moment of death is considered one of the most precious opportunities in all of existence. It is called the bardo, the intermediate state, the luminous gap between one form of being and whatever comes next. The Tibetan Book of the Dead, known as the Bardo Thodol, is not a book about dying. It is a book about recognition. It teaches that at the moment of death, the true nature of mind reveals itself in a flash of brilliant, boundless light. And if we can recognize that light, if we can meet it without flinching, we are free. But here is the secret the Tibetan masters understood. You do not have to wait until your physical death to encounter the bardo. Every night when you fall asleep, there is a small death. Every exhale is a letting go. Every moment of transition, every ending, every loss is a bardo, a doorway into deeper truth. So the practice is not about preparing for one single event at the end of your life. It is about learning to die gracefully 1,000 times a day, letting go of each moment as it passes, releasing your grip on who you think you are, and discovering the vast, spacious awareness that remains. The seventh insight is perhaps the most tender. Grief is not the enemy of acceptance. It is the proof that you have loved. When someone we love dies, the pain can feel like it will swallow us whole. It rises in the chest like a wave, and for a moment, we cannot breathe, we cannot think, we cannot imagine how the world will keep turning without this person in it. The Buddha did not ask us to bypass this grief. He did not say, "And be detached, do not feel." Detachment, in the way the West often misunderstands it, was never his teaching. What he taught was non-clinging, not the absence of love, but a love so vast it can hold even loss. A love that does not grasp. A love that opens its hands and lets the butterfly go, knowing that the very act of releasing is the deepest form of devotion. There is a story of Kisa Gotami, a young mother in the time of the Buddha, who came to him carrying the body of her dead child. She was wild with grief, begging for medicine to bring her child back to life. The Buddha did not scold her. He did not lecture her about impermanence. He simply said, "Go into the village and bring me a mustard seed from any house where no one has ever died." She went from door to door, and at every home she heard the same answer. "Yes, we have mustard seeds, but my father died here. My sister died here. My husband died here." By nightfall, Kisa Gotami understood. Death had visited every home. Her grief was not a curse. It was the shared inheritance of every human heart. She returned to the Buddha, not with a mustard seed, but with a broken heart that had become a compassionate heart. The eighth insight is a practice you can begin tonight, in the quiet of your own room. Learn to sit with the unknown, and you will discover that you have always been held. Close your eyes for a moment if it feels safe to do so. Place one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. Feel the rise and fall. Feel the warmth beneath your palms. Now imagine that this is your last breath, not with panic, but with reverence. Imagine that this inhale is the final gift the universe is offering you. What do you feel? Beneath the fear, beneath the resistance, there is something else. A softness, a surrender, a quiet knowing that you have always been part of something much larger than your name, your story, your body. This is what the Zen masters call your original face, the face you had before your parents were born. It is the awareness that was here before you arrived and will remain after you depart. It is not something you need to create or earn. It is what you already are. The neuroscience of meditation is beginning to confirm what contemplatives have known for millennia. When we practice letting go, when we sit with uncertainty instead of fighting it, the brain's fear centers begin to quiet. The amygdala, that ancient alarm system wired for survival, starts to soften its grip. And in its place, the prefrontal cortex, the seat of wisdom, clarity, and compassion, grows stronger. You are literally rewiring your brain for peace every time you sit in stillness and face what is. The ninth and final insight is the one the Buddha offered on his deathbed, beneath the twin sala trees, as the flowers fell from the branches unbidden and covered his resting body in white petals. He looked at his students, who were weeping, and he said, "All conditioned things are impermanent. Work out your own salvation with diligence." These were his last words. Not a grand theological statement, not a prophecy, a gentle reminder. Everything that has come together will come apart. This body, this mind, this world as you know it. And within that coming apart is not tragedy, but the deepest invitation to awaken. Work out your own salvation, not someone else's path, not someone else's answers, your own. With your own two hands, your own beating heart, your own willingness to show up for this one wild, precious, fleeting life. Diligence does not mean striving. It means presence. It means returning again and again to this breath, this moment, this truth. So tonight, as you prepare for sleep, try something. Lie down and close your eyes. Place your hands by your sides and imagine just for a moment that this is it, that the day you have just lived was your last. Do not rush past the discomfort. Let it be there. Let the fear rise. Let the sadness come. And beneath all of it, notice the stillness, the vast, unshakable stillness that has been with you since the very beginning. You are not your thoughts. You are not your body. You are not even your name. You are the awareness in which all of these things appear and dissolve, like clouds passing through an infinite sky. Death cannot touch that sky. It never could. And when you wake tomorrow morning, if you are given that gift, let it be a rebirth. Let the first breath of the new day be the most sacred thing you have ever tasted. Let the light on the wall be a miracle. Let the sound of birdsong be the entire Dharma, because it is. This is what it means to prepare for death. Not with armor, but with openness. Not with answers, but with attention. Not with certainty, but with the kind of tender, trembling courage that can only come from a heart that has looked into the abyss and found not darkness, but light. If this journey has touched something deep within you tonight, share with me in the comments. Tell me one thing you would do differently if you truly believed this was your last week on earth. Let your words be a gift to someone else who is walking this same path. We are not alone in this. We have never been alone in this. The Buddha walks with us. The cherry blossoms fall around us, and the silence, that great, beautiful silence, holds us all. May you be at peace with what has been. May you be present with what is. May you be unafraid of what is to come. Namaste.